Welcome.
Welcome, mother-daughter dynamic duo. Here we are on
Here we
our
are.
amazing podcast tonight. We have an
Yes, we
amazing
do.
guest.
And we're so excited to share her with you. But before we do that, I am Coach Rochelle,
I am Coach Alicia Schwartz.
and we basically are dynamic.
And we're
No matter
definitely a
what.
duo for sure.
That is for sure.
Absolutely. So, in a moment, we're going to introduce our guest, Lisa Moore. But before we do that, as always, Nim, play our nice video for everybody to see.
Our intro.
Intro video, here we come.
Looking through the pages of our lives as we start out on this journey. Everywhere we look, a different sign, telling us where we will go. Feel the sunlight shining in your eyes, and the wind that's blowing through me.
Every time we
love
hear
it.
that video, Jessie Campo, you can
She's
check
the
her
best.
out. She's on Instagram. She is a
She's
dynamo.
Yeah, she's a world-known singer, composer. She's a teacher.
And
I
you-
mean, she's phenomenal.
And she wrote that song for us. We gave her
Yes.
some things and she said, I'll write it for you. So she composed that
Yes.
intro song for us. So thank you, Jessie Campo.
So before we get into it, I always like to read something to kind of set the stage for tonight. And so this is
Put
what
on your
I
jet
received.
setters.
I am. And this is what I picked up today. I will start fulfilling my own cup, being my own muse, knowing my own worth, loving my own skin, praising my own existence, validating my own journey, speaking my own truth, admiring my own reflection, experiencing my own love, enjoying my own company, extending my own energy, creating my own paradise. And that was written by Alicia Keys.
Oh, I love Alicia
And
Keys.
the other thing I got is that gratitude, the struggle ends when gratitude begins.
Amen.
So, with all of that being said,
Well, let's bring her on.
let's bring on our beautiful guest for tonight.
Lisa Moore.
Come on down.
Or come on up.
Or whatever.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful way to get introduced. Thank you. Thank you guys. Good to see you.
You're welcome. So nice to have you.
Yeah.
So tell a little bit about yourself to everyone so just people get a sense of you and they know what you're doing here and what you do
Yeah, in the world.
in the world.
Yes, in the world. Let's see. Well, I am an astrologer, a practicing astrologer. I live in northern New Jersey. I grew up in New York City. Before astrology, I also did body work, and I've been a certified Pilates instructor for about 20 years.
Mm.
And that's kind of how I started on the astrology. People would come into my classes or my studio, and they'd be having I could feel the energy coming off of them, or they'd be having a tough day. And I would pull out my phone that had an app on it, and I would start to put their birth times in and I'd be like, well, look at this, Saturn sitting, or whatever it was. So it was kind of just started as a natural offshoot from working with people.
That's awesome. Well, I know we have, just as you're saying, we
wonderful
have
guests here.
Tracy and Michelle, Salami.
Yes, we're so happy that they're
The
here.
Zen and 10 crew.
They're amazing.
Crew, they are.
Yeah.
So they're here too, just so you know, to
Thank
support you and love you up. Just like
I
you.
love them. Good people, all good people.
Yes, yes.
And right. So true. This is exactly, that's really what we're kind of working into. Like, I don't know if anybody follows astrology, we've just had a big shift of Pluto going from Capricorn to Aquarius, and Aquarius is about the community.
Mm.
I mean, it's really about the greater good for all. So we're kind of going to be re-evaluating what that means out in the world. So it's going to be for the next 20 years. It's a 20-year cycle.
Wow. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So yeah,
Woo! So
and
go
yeah,
ahead.
it helps
Go
for
ahead.
all of us. And that's what like Tracy and Michelle and you guys, like creating the communities that you create is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you too, you have your own set of community as well, with people that you work with, I'm sure, and help. And I'm sure they're doing amazing things too with your assistance.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. I had taken a sabbatical last year. As my husband passed away suddenly, so I took a little bit of time off to kind of just regroup and kind of running a business that I hadn't been anticipating running.
Mm,
So that's been a little bit of an adjustment.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's nice, and I'm very lucky that I do have such a great community of people. I've worked with over the last few years a New York-based intuitive teacher, Laura Day,
Mm,
and through her and her community, I really, along with Tracy's community, I've really had such amazing support and guidance, and what I've learned and what I've been able to kind of heal through has been amazing.
mm, yeah.
Do you do your own astrology?
I look at it every day, yes, but it's like a therapist. Hey, Michelle, it's like a therapist. Every therapist should have a therapist, right?
Yeah.
So
It's
every
true.
astrologer, and I think everybody should have an astrologer, honestly. And I think children should be I think if every parent sat down and did their children's astrology chart and understood
Amazing.
basic premise of what the energies of this little soul is, I think we would have life would be so much easier and better for all of us and for all of them. But no, I do. I have, I'm such a Capricorn. I have very specific people that I trust with certain things.
Mm, yeah, which is great. So you
Yeah.
have it's like a little secret weapon. You know what I mean? It's like a little secret weapon in a
Yes.
good way, in a good way.
Oh yeah, and it's amazing because astrology. There's a lot of math involved, believe it or not, because it's degrees of planets and how they're traveling around now and where they were in your birth chart. And I have, thank God, a program that does that, because years ago I
Right.
used to do
I
right
would
charts.
think.
Yeah, exactly.
I can imagine. Oh my
I
God.
can't honestly. When I went to, I started my education in astrology with the Faculty for Astrological Studies in London, and they made us learn how to draw a chart by hand.
Which I can
Wow.
imagine would be good because, you want to have it all sides, right? So you want to have the
Well,
manual
that's the
and then
foundation.
you want to be able to do these programs, which
Right.
makes it 10 times easier, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So
Right?
much easier to just, because then you can do multiple things and you can run things quicker. The thing about learning to draw the chart, which is kind of interesting, comes into that kind of taps into a little bit more of the intuitive part of it. Because when you're physically drawing a chart and putting in the symbols and putting in the things, you get that from reading it, but you really get a feel for what it's like to kind of be in the energy of somebody's chart. And I've done so many charts. A lot of the charts I've read, at least half of them, are people I've no idea who they were. I have no idea of their background. And immediately I have a sense of like, oh, this person, you have such I have such an empathy for whatever it is. Because honestly, 9 out of 10 times people are not coming to an astrologer because their life is all peaches and cream.
Right.
Just like when people go to therapy, it's
Or
because
if you go to a coach like us,
Yeah.
coaching.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you can, I usually can spot what's going on in a chart, and you go like, oh, you have such empathy for where they are in this particular point in time.
Yeah, it's so neat,
It
really.
reminds me almost like a tapestry of their life. You know?
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful, Rochelle. Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I think of it as like the this is this living, breathing map that you came in with,
Right.
and it has life. And the chart lives on after you leave this plane of existence. It still continues to have energy in it. And then what's happening now daily is called a transit, right? So you kind of layer that on top of the other living, breathing natal chart, and everything has a chart. A business has a chart. The moment that you say I do in a wedding is a chart.
Wow.
When we closed on this house, I ran a chart the minute we signed the papers.
Wow. Interesting.
Wow.
With the numbers, I would imagine, right? With numbers?
Oh, well, you as long as you
I
have
didn't
the
know.
time, the date, and the place, and you look at the energy of what this new entity represents
Interesting.
and how
Very
your chart
interesting.
plays in with it. Yeah, it's fun.
It's funny. I always think like every place I've lived, I always looked at the apartment number or the house number, and it was always interesting to see
Where?
the numbers and if there were my favorite number in there. And it was interesting,
Well, it's funny you say that because
fascinating.
it's a lot of, like in astrology, talk about, we start to go into like a little bit of the divination part of it.
Yeah.
There are 2 books that I'll consult. There's a lot of things, but these were like channeled messages and channeled symbols that come down to the degree numbers. And one of them is called Inside Degrees, and it's the Chandra symbols. And you can look up, like, if you look at the degree of your ascendant in your chart, it would ring a bell with you.
Yeah.
And if you look
Interesting.
at a big transit that's happening and what degree it is, it would it would give you an insight as to the energies of what's kind of going on.
That's so neat.
That is fascinating.
It really
I love
is.
it. I love
do
this
too.
stuff.
It
I
really
do. I
is. And
love
we could
it.
talk about this forever.
Yeah.
I swear to God. It's so, because it is. It's just, there's so much wisdom in it, but there's also so much, what's the word I'm thinking? Not reality. I don't want to say reality, but
There's it's based in, the energy of who you are or whatever. And it's based on a long history. There's it's cycles.
cycles.
And this, things happen again, and you can see and recognize it. It doesn't always happen in the exact same way, but you can see the repetition of cycles over many, many, many years.
I can see that.
So I have a question.
Excuse me.
If you could solve one problem in the world, what would that problem be that you can see? I guess astrology wise.
Right, because that's your thing. So if you could.
I think it's something that I hope I'm getting better at, and later in life is, I think each of us needs to be open to listening more and not being so set in trying to that our way is the right and only way or perspective, and that we don't have to convince somebody that their way is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think
do.
more I listened to a podcast called The Hidden Brain, and they were talking about like somebody that compares like trying to get people to change their perspectives. And the only way it truly, you don't want to, you can't change somebody's integral part of how they think, but to get them to open up to another perspective at least. And that's listening and not negating their position.
That's a great one.
Yeah,
Really, because most of us are in our own listening,
for sure.
not the person listening.
We listen to respond instead of listening to hear
Yes.
or understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so true. That is so true. Boy.
Yeah, no, it is.
I still work on that. I haven't perfected it yet. I don't think
That's what it's about, right? The Earth School. I mean,
Exactly. I mean, we're not going to get it all right. That's okay too,
Yeah.
100%.
It's not about perfection.
No, that's true.
No.
Thank you,
No,
God.
perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
So another good question for you, Lisa, is if God could speak to you, which I'm sure he does,
Yeah.
what's the message he wants you to know today?
Ooh, I'm going to cry.
Mm,
You are taken care of.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
been a little of an emotional time lately. So
Mm,
just, I do definitely, sometimes I forget that.
mm,
And that's the time that you kind of lean into the things that help you support that faith and remember it.
mm. Yeah, and it's funny as you say that you're getting all these things like Tracy said, you're so loved. So
Oh,
true. That's so true. And it is true. You are. I mean, and like I think Tracy said it, synchronicity. There is no
Yeah.
accident,
yes.
right? We
Oh
all
God, that's how her and I met. It was crazy. We ended up we were taking a Reiki. We were getting Reiki attuned together at the same person here. She's a Hay House author in northern New Jersey, Karen Noe, and we kept looking at each other like, "Don't I know you? You look so familiar. I know you."
I
And
love
it
it.
ended up we grew up in the same place, like on the same in New York, in a suburb of New York, Staten Island, but we had never known each other, but we felt like we knew each other.
Yeah. And I always think like God knows exactly the perfect people to put into your sphere right when you need them.
Absolutely.
It's
Oh,
always right on time, too.
you guys have been like that for me on some level.
Well,
I mean,
we do feel a very strong
Yes.
kinship. Like it's
Yeah,
like
to you.
there's
yes,
this, it's a very cool thing. It's fun.
I agree. And it's amazing because you're seeing like you've said, I have my community, you have your community, Tracy has, the Zen and 10 community, but they all overlap. It's like
Yeah.
what is that called? Like a Venn diagram, right? And it's like you see where all these circles like overlap. And, that's the thing that makes me hopeful because knowing what the energies of the change that's coming astrologically, it's
Mm,
really about owning your own sense of spirituality and not looking to because it's within us.
yeah.
Yes,
And
it
it's
is.
not looking to an outside source to validate that
Yeah.
and to know you are your own greatest creator.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. That is
Maybe you were a preacher in another life. Hey, listen, you never know.
I have
You never know.
officiated one wedding.
There you go.
so.
Oh, that is cute.
The other question that we wanted to ask you, if you were going to give somebody the best advice in life, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a toughie, man. The first thing that springs to mind is don't take anything personally
Mm,
because what others do is such a four agreements thing, but it just
Yeah, it is.
so true. I mean, what anybody does is very rarely about you. It's usually something that's coming from them. That's like I keep going back to astrology, but in a chart, like you're the ascendant, the other side's the descendant. And the only way we learn is being in relationship with another. And the other is where we get to project and then be reflected back what we need to kind of work on and what the other needs to work on. And that's why relationships are rewarding and really effing hard.
yeah, it's true.
That
It's
is
true.
so
And the
true.
closer you are,
The
the
ho-
more you reflect.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yes. And sometimes you get so caught up in each other, you don't even know who's projecting and who's receiving. So it's like, you got to do a ding, ding, go to your corners kind of thing. I've
take
done
a
that.
time out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That is
Sometimes it's
true.
like, this is no longer productive. Let's revisit this when, things are a little calmer.
It's so true. It is. We're like projection machines, you know, unless you know,
That-
unless you've done enough work within to know your wounds, to know
Yes.
what your projections are, light and dark, and to really understand that,
And I
you're
think
walking around just not owning all of
No.
who you are. You're just,
but it's a consciousness that you keep on
course.
creating, and it's a muscle that you keep on exercising. So it
I-
just shows up.
I think you're right, Rochelle. I think so. I think it's also another area of astrology I've studied is psychological astrology.
Mhm.
And I remember first term when we did it, it was like everybody has triggers. We all have them. In fact, and no offense to any mothers, I have 2 children. You know, our parents are usually the ones that, you know, instill the triggers so they know where their best are. Some of them we come in with, but they kind of know where they are. And it's just knowing what the triggers are. They're always going to be there. They don't go away. It's just you learn to kind of, like you were saying, Rochelle, like you know yourself, take the space, and you don't have to, you know, be reactive to it. But
Mhm.
Yep.
everybody has them. We all have them.
We sure
Yep.
do.
Sure do.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
What did Tracy say?
Ding, ding, go to your corner. Ding, ding, go to your corner. She's too funny. Oh, God. Okay,
She's so
so what
funny.
she is. What advice would you give to your youngest self today?
Oh man. Man, that's a good one. That's a hard one. The younger selves today. Oh my God. You're smarter than you give yourself credit for.
Mm,
Yeah.
That's
that's
true.
good. That's really good.
That's so true.
Listen to your own voice, because I'm sure you're all gonna, like, the only time we F ourselves over is when we don't listen to the things that we know is best for us or are best for us.
It's so true. God, we could save ourselves so
God.
much pain and so much turmoil. You know,
because it
It's
comes
so
from,
true.
your childhood, and it's projected on you, and you
Yeah.
take it. Like
Yeah.
that's supposed to be
Yep.
your lesson.
Yeah.
And, it's so amazing because it's really not our stuff. It's just not our shit.
Nope.
But we
No.
take it.
And that's, yeah, I mean, I think it's we come in such, children are so innocent and so wise,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're conditioned to take on other people's perspectives, right?
Yep. And if you're empathic, it's a double
Yeah.
whammy. Because then you really, because I know,
Yes.
for me, it is, and always is. And it's always something I have to work
Yeah,
with
she does.
Yeah.
really all the time. So that's my Achilles heel.
Yeah, it can be painful to take on. It's a really, because you work with people all the time and physically also, Alicia,
Yeah.
it's really important boundaries,
Yep.
I'm always like one of the first things I look at somebody's chart is Saturn. Saturn represents foundations and boundaries, and they should be healthy,
Mm,
right? And you can see
Yep.
where Saturn is in a chart and what the challenges to it may be.
Yep.
Mm.
That's interesting. That's
Do
a
your
whole
own
other-
Saturn. Saturn is your power. Don't give it away.
Yeah.
Don't
And,
let somebody else do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
right.
think, I think it just goes with the lessons and what I do, as far as massage. I think it's just a constant, which is great because the more power you have, the more you can really set and get clear what your boundaries are and not have to take on and know this. It's like a dance party. It's like a freaking dance party.
And once you have those boundaries, and you know where, your energy stops and how much you can hold space for someone, right?
Sure.
But if you're not taking on their stuff, it's like a boat not taking on water to sink.
Yep.
Then it's not draining. It shouldn't be draining. It should be
100%. The
fulfilling.
only time it's draining is when it's your stuff.
Right. And when you're
Yeah.
when you're taking on thinking that you can actually
Right.
solve someone
Oh,
else's
yeah.
issues.
Or fix it. Fix the
Right.
problem.
That's it. The
Problem.
fixer. That's better. That's actually
Yeah.
much better said. Yeah. No, it's true. It's like, you have to know, like, that's, part of like almost like a step program. It's like,
Yeah,
you have
it's
to
true.
know what
Yeah.
what you can and can't do. It's like,
Correct.
what is that? Give it over to
Community
the higher
prayer.
power, right?
Community
Right.
prayer.
And
God
the
grant
higher
me
power
this.
is not me.
Right. And thank God.
Boy, that's
Yeah,
You
even though
know,
I used to think
I
sometimes
didn't
it
know
was
what
me.
it was, but yeah,
Yeah, not anymore, but yeah.
absolutely.
so the other question is, what did you enjoy the most about your childhood?
Oh, I loved where I grew up when I was little. There was so much nature and so many woods, and like it was very magical to me
Mm,
as a kid. It was beautiful. There
that
was a
sounds
running brook out back, and
mm,
it just like looked like magic. I
wow.
loved
Where
it.
was
Yeah, I
it?
was just gonna
It
say,
was on Staten Island, but before they before they built it up and like became much more just, I don't know, just overcrowded.
mm,
It was 50 years ago. So,
wow,
or so. Yeah,
that's crazy.
45, 50 years ago. Yeah. They
Wow.
didn't have any like building, there was no like regulations about how they can build things there and they just kind of lost all of the nature that was there.
Tracy saying we played with frogs and grasshoppers. That's crazy.
It's so true, right? It's
We
so
play with
true.
those frogs, those little tadpoles.
Yes.
It's so true. We had, it makes me sad because it gets such a bad rap, Staten Island, but what the one I know as I grew up, it was a really beautiful spot of nature. And then it kind of just changed, got overdeveloped. That's the word I was looking
Yeah,
for.
it does. It happens in so many, well, I think it's in all the areas.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
just don't wanna, it's the way it
that's why
goes.
it's important to conserve, that's another theme. Like we have, Taurus is really a big thing happening there in April. That's what I was talking to you guys about. There's
Yeah.
the Jupiter Uranus conjunction in Taurus. Taurus represents the earth, represents nature, ruled by Venus, which is love and beauty, but it's nature. It's what the earth is. It's like when you want to, get your feet in the grass, that's very Taurus.
Mm,
So,
Yeah.
that's a big part of what we need to kind of be aware of. How do we make sure that, yeah, we did grow up a few towns apart. We have to make sure that for our children and for our children's children, we're leaving,
Yeah.
like Central
No, it's
Park is still
true.
Central Park, they
I
have
was just gonna
broadened
say
that
that
off,
about Central
right?
Park.
I
It's still
love
it's
Central
gorgeous.
Park.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so beautiful.
I can
Oh,
look at that a million times and get
yeah.
something different every single time.
It's gorgeous. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's people are smart enough and they've done this in Europe a lot too, is that there are national trusts and areas, and in Italy when they go to dig to do something new and they find ruins, they stop. I mean, and I know and it doesn't, I know economically they may not make much sense, but they are preserving history and, kind of honoring it.
It reminds me, I was watching something on Netflix with this guy from Italy. He tours
Oh, he tours,
different
yeah.
places in Italy. I'll let you know the name of
Oh,
it.
it's
But
fascinating.
they were doing the mozzarella cheese, and he was doing it with his hands, and he was
Oh my God.
and then he made this chicken, breaded chicken his mom would make instead of pizza, and he
Yeah.
would do the sauce and the
It was fascinating.
limoncello in I think where was that limoncello
Yeah.
somewhere something the lemons were
Unbelievable.
exquisite. I've
That
never
is.
seen. It was just, and we went to Italy,
Yeah.
but we didn't go
still.
all
Yeah,
over
there's so
Italy.
many,
We went to pockets.
it's not a
Yeah.
huge country, but there's so many different, towns and districts and whatever within all of that it's amazing. And like I
It
have a
is.
lot of friends over in England and like they
Mm.
know gardening like I know some things, but when they'll be like, oh, the species of that tree is the blah 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 blah. And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, but they are brought up with that, like such
Yeah.
a,
Tea time.
it's such an ingrained part of them, of knowing
Yeah.
like, you know, of how they grow up. They study this stuff. It's like,
No.
it's amazing to me.
Fascinating. It is.
I mean,
It's
just watching this
fascinating.
guy, I was like, oh my God, it was just
Yeah, he had gorgeous hands.
gorgeous hands. And the way he did the cheese, it was
Oh,
like,
my God.
he wanted to rip the cheese out of
Oh,
his hands and just.
But
It
this
was
is what it is.
fascinating.
It's like, we're such a baby country compared to the rest of the world, you know?
And the
It's
people that still
interesting.
make the pasta by hand, and
Yeah.
these women that have been doing it for 50 years, it's like,
It was really
It's
very
fascinating.
interesting.
History
Yeah.
and tradition do matter.
Yes, they do.
so do.
They really do.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, when you have a client coming to you, on a whole, if you can, what is the one question they want to know? As you know, as you're going to do their
Like a
chart.
theme,
What
right?
is
Did you
that
say?
one thing that they want to get out of their reading?
You know, the theme that the thing that I find over and over again is it's just validating who they are.
Mm,
You know,
interesting.
you
I
know,
could see that.
yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. We all have our whole chart. We all have all of the signs in us, right? And they all can manifest in really different ways. And we're supposed to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to be unique. We are really, that's
Yeah.
our beauty. And we're not supposed to be cookie cutter people.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank God.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
And
That's
we just
it. It's
and
a
it's-
group mentality thing where you're supposed to conform to a group.
Yeah.
And it's great to
so
be
old.
parts of groups, but it's also great to know that, the individual exists, each individual exists within a group.
100%. And that's what makes a group so exciting.
Yeah.
Because think
There's so
about
many-
it. If everyone was the
This-
same, it's so boring.
Yeah.
So
Right.
boring.
But there can be a lot of fear around differences.
Oh yeah. Of course.
That's a balance thing. And I think I also see a lot of people have a lot of fear about like things coming up. Like listen, there's a lot going on in the world right now. Let's not be naive, but it's also the energy that we're each able to manifest. And if we can hold and ground ourselves, then it makes, it's that, chain reaction effect of stability versus instability.
So what do you see for this world on a whole? Not to get into the whole,
Yeah.
but
That's a biggie.
yeah. What's your take?
If you think things have moved fast this year, it's just going to speed up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to move a little bit quicker. I think we're going to see some really dynamic energy in April, especially around April 21st. So I would keep an eye out around those days. And I don't mean bad. I just mean like,
right.
where like projects you've worked on, things you're putting out, things that you may have had so much even like resistance to may finally come into like a bloom.
Ah, a bloom. I like it.
So that, and I think you're going to see, the way the outer planets are shifting. I think all over the world, we're going to see changes in borders and how people live and how they travel.
Really?
Yeah.
How they travel. What would you say
Like-
to that? How they travel?
I think it's just going to be, I think people, it's just historically what's happened when, because Uranus is going into Gemini. When that happens, it's like kind of creates different kind of border situations. So you may like, look, what, a good example would be like Brexit, right? England left the European nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a form of changing a border, right? You can have an EU passport, but that doesn't mean you can live in England anymore because they're not part of the EU.
Okay.
So like, like that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I had heard that there's something going on in 2025 with your passports. It's going to be very, very different. I don't know
like
what.
US too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
that's when they've instituted, I think, that real ID thing for driver's licenses.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
So
had to do
that's
that.
what 2025 we need that. So I think there's, I think it's just gonna, this also comes under the Pluto and Aquarius, a lot of technology upgrades. You're gonna see things that you can't even imagine. Like
Wow.
even from a health perspective, medical, anti-aging, which I'm all for, but I'm like, it's good to age. I'm not trying to be like, I'm happy to be, 56 versus 36 now,
Yeah.
Right,
I
right.
am grateful for every year of life and for what's to come. So I'm not trying to be, but it's amazing to see how we'll be able to live longer and better with a better quality of life.
That sounds exciting.
That sounds pretty good to me.
If anything, that sounds really good. I
Because
like
I'm
it.
closer than father, so you know what I'm saying.
And I really, I will be honest with people if I see something difficult in their chart, but I do not prefer to be a Debbie Downer either. There's enough stuff that does that. I don't want to kind of give people something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's part of the gift of what you do, too.
It is. It really is.
It is, for sure. And we're so grateful
Oh,
that
my
you came
God.
on tonight, and we're grateful that we know you, and we're grateful that Tracy introduced us to you. And
So special. You're just
You
a
really
very
are.
special woman that has a beautiful, beautiful heart. That's
Oh.
for the collective.
yeah, and that really wants to help.
Yeah.
I do.
Really.
Yes. I mean, that's really why we're all like all of us that are here, I know it's, to be of service. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what gives meaning in
Totally.
life to me. I mean, I think
Absolutely.
that's where you get fulfilled the most.
100%. I
true.
remember when my mentor used to say, you know what, if you can't do it for you, do it for somebody, do it for someone else.
Right.
Look for someone to do it for, because you know what, get out of your own way
Yep.
Yes.
and just give in that way. And it's such an amazing thing to give in that way.
Yeah. And I
Sharon,
Service.
Hi,
Sharon,
Sharon.
we're so happy you're here. Even though you were late, we still love you.
We got called like a roll call.
Roll call. Hey, that's for show.
Oh, yeah.
So we are
Oh, my God.
so happy
To
that
be continued.
yes, and that you're on the planet, and if anyone wants to get in touch with you,
Everything. Nim is.
Nim has it on the
Oh, yeah.
screen.
Yeah, she was running it on the screen.
LisaMooreAstrology.com. You can find me at, and on Instagram is that's really the only social media presence I have, and I've been really lax about that lately. I'm just getting ready to come out of my little sabbatical cocoon.
The world needs you to come on out and share and shine and give your gifts.
Yeah,
You
because
guys
you have
too.
a
You guys
lot
are
of gifts.
amazing. Thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
We love
it.
you.
And thanks, Trace.
Thank
You're the
you,
best.
Tracy.
Thank you guys for showing up.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you.
We love you, and
Love you.
we will, I'm sure, have another amazing conversation very soon.
Tracy was in her Italian.
Oh,
right
she's
now.
child Bella.
Ciao, Bella. I know we're talking about our Italian tutors with each other.
Mozzarella. You guys are
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
But thank you. This was fun. I was really nervous, but thank you.
Oh, I told you.
It's so much fun,
It's
isn't it?
fun. It's really fun. We love you, sweetheart.
Love you. And we'll
Love all of you.
and
Thank
everyone
you.
out there,
Love you.
you have the information from Lisa if you
All
want
right.
to reach out.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
We
Absolutely.
appreciate
I'll talk to
you.
you guys later anyway.
Okay. Mwah.
Mwah.
Thanks,
Good
Nim.
night.
Bye.
Bye.